Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here today. Thank you for being here. If you want to follow along, we're going to be back in the little letter of Philemon, and starting in verse number 10, as Paul continues to appeal for his friend, his son, he tells us here, Onesimus. And so here's his words in verse 10. I appeal to you for my child, Onesimus, whose father I became in my imprisonment. Formerly he was useless to you, but now he is indeed useful to you and me. Onesimus obviously had become a spiritual son to Paul. Paul had led him to salvation. Paul had led him to Christ from his place in prison. Um, Interesting question is exactly how that happened. If Paul was in prison, perhaps Onesimus had um, been uh, been discovered as a runaway slave and been put in jail himself, and there came into to contact with Paul. But obviously that's not the case because he's not in prison. He's going back. Paul is sending him back to Philemon, and so that doesn't seem to add up. Again, the only thing that really makes sense is that while in Rome, Onesimus had met some other believers, and they had went to visit Paul. Maybe they had told him about Paul and told him about Paul's ministry, and then went to visit him. And so Paul is sending him back a different man than the slave who had ran away. Now Paul admits, he says in verse 11, I know he was useless to you. He was of no value to you. But now that he knows Christ, he can be a great servant for you, a great impact on your other servants. Um, he will be an honorable servant. Paul says his life has changed. He's a new man in Jesus Christ. He's not the man I'm sending back to you is not the man who ran away from you. He ran away. He was useless. He was literally, the word there means good for nothing. But now he is indeed useful. He is he will be very beneficial to you. And what a great encouragement for me and you today to think about how God can take the useless, how God can take the good for nothing, and turn them into something that Paul says is indeed useful. A lot of us a lot of folks are really haunted by their past. Satan likes to do that. Satan likes to drag up the old you and where you used to be and when you were useless. But God likes to drag up and bring up the future. He likes to bring up who you can be, who you are in Him. And that's what we need to remember. You think about that today. You keep that in mind. That you may have once upon a time been useless. You may have been good for nothing. That's a phrase here in the South anyway. We use a good bit. He's good for nothing. But you may have been good for nothing once upon a time. But if you know Jesus, if Jesus has come into your heart and made you a new person, saved your soul, you're good for something. Now the task is to get out there and get busy and find out what it is, where you can be useful to the kingdom of God. You think about that today. All right. Have a good one. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.